beyond research and the development of new solutions, but defining advancement as an increasing number of people with functional limitations in Europe that have access and use appropriate assistive technologies. So from that point of view, definitely there is a lot of interest among our members in ICT AT skills development, among not only professionals. Of course, professionals remain a very, very important group because they are often the mediators between the knowledge which is out there in the sector and the needs and the wishes of the persons with the disabilities, but also because we have adopted a more rights-based approach nowadays. The AAAT is officially committed to the implementation of the UN Convention on the rights of people with disabilities. Also there, the direct skills development is an increasingly important issue. So I think that also explains a little bit why AAAT was eager to join the end to this project. I already spoke about that before. I think part of the valorization of ATLEC will be focused on handing over these results to ATLEC, where ATLEC will try to put that in a little bit of wider framework. With all respect for all of us and all the work that has been done, but this is not the first project on this sort of issues. So I think we really have to pick out the innovative aspects. For example, I think serious games and robots in the future in education are definitely so those are the issues where you can try to build on, for example, a new network. I won't do that on generally ICT AT issues because there is already a lot of things out there. So in ATLEC we'll try to assess all those project outcomes and to see what is still there, what is valid, what is compared, what can be compared, what are the lessons learned, and from there try to develop a full scenario on how ICT AT education for people with disabilities should or could develop, and a roadmap to prioritize action in this field.
Okay, thank you. Luc, then we'll answer the question how to incorporate assistive technology in social care and overcome resistance.
I'll try. And again, I feel a bit uncomfortable because again, I'm in between you and your dinner. This time, not your lunch. So, and I will try not to use the 12 minutes because it's important, I think, that we can have an interaction with there is at least as much knowledge at that side of the table as this side of the table. So, how to overcome resistance, and I will then reply to your other question as well because it's interlinked. And what will we do to upscale the knowledge available in the sector on this? We decided to set up a special interest group. As ESPD, we have this PCT group, Person-Centered Technology Group, and that group is a platform to exchange knowledge, know-how in this field, and it's also an instrument to network with other organizations active in this field. AAAT is one of them. And that group has a news flash, and in that news flash we bring information on three different levels, three different types of information. We give policy information on what are the plans of the European Commission or other international bodies with regard to technology in the social sector, in the care sector. But we also bring information with regard to what is going on in the UK. And is there an interesting model in Greece, or is there a model of good practice from Finland that we can show? So in every news flash we try to bring in one or two models of good practice on how technology can contribute to the quality of life of persons with a disability and the correct service provision, because we are a network of service providers. We do not represent persons with a disability, so we do not work on the awareness raising for persons with a disability or their families. Our responsibility is the professionals, the care staff. So through that, through disseminating models of good practice and informing people on what is going on in the policy field, we hope to create awareness and to indeed facilitate the debate around this. We also decided to have on all our conferences, we organize 2 to 3 international conferences per year, and in all, when relevant of course, we also look at what can technology bring in when discussing this. We were in Istanbul a few weeks ago to discuss employment of persons with a disability, and we had 2 workshops on, and what about technology? How can technology help us? Some months ago we were in Budapest, the conference on education, inclusive education, and in 2 workshops we looked at what can technology do and bring to this field. So we try to make it part of our machinery. We mainstream it inside of in our function in our work. Apart from that, as I said already this morning, we organize an event in Bologna, the 27th and the 28th of November, for the people managing social services for persons with a disability, and we are preparing a summer school, just to make sure that we contribute to preparing the workforce on this. So a lot of awareness raising, a lot of training, spreading models of good practice, listening to difficulties across Europe, and that I think should help us to indeed handle this resistance.
Okay.
Just one more word maybe with regard to the enforcement of the training. Europe never will enforce this type of training. They don't have the competence for it. And I think that very few national or regional authorities have that type of competence. But it should come from inside the organization. I think if it is identified as a need for the further development of the organization, then the training should be organized. We also work on the development of quality assurance systems. And in a quality assurance system for a service, this should be one of the questions where they look at local level, at organizational level. And then it becomes part of the management instruments and machinery of an organization. And that is, I think, where we should land in the long run. It should become part of the normal way of managing an organization and a service. Also, your remark with regard to what you win on staff costs is not free money. That is, of course, correct, because there are more needs than
maybe you discretion to use in other lines.
But there is some room to maneuver for the management to redirect a bit how they approach things. And if you by organizing the right training can indeed improve the quality of your service, then it's a responsibility of the management to do so, I think. So, but maybe it's enough to trigger another debate around this. Okay.
Thank you.
And by the way, I never exaggerate.
I haven't said
I never exaggerate. Josh is a good friend since many years. If you have a friend like Josh, you don't need an enemy anymore.
Just the floor is yours. Difficult questions. Tell us some principles on adequate societal financing of devices, assistive devices.
Yeah, well, first of all, I think Luc is right that it's all the debate should start from management and not from the management. Assistive technology, the development, the implementation, and the use of it in care. From the beginning should be the task of the management to be part of the core of the organization. I think that's the first point. Then you come immediately with what budget, so with what money. But Jean-Marie, before I go on that, you had your first question. I think it's interesting as well. The question is, what could we, from my organization, do for you that would be useful in this context? I work for a Knowledge Center Social Europe. It's a Flemish NGO, and our task is to open the window, you could say, on what's happening in Europe to the Flemish NGO or the Flemish not-for-profit sector. So not only the disability sector, but also health, culture, social economy, and so on. Because too many things are happening in Europe that impact the social policy in Flanders, and we're not aware of that. So that's our main task. Now, a big part of what's happening in Europe is a funding aspect. You know that there are more than 100 European funds that can contribute, well, in projects way, can contribute to your work. So first thing what we can do for people from Flanders who are present here is to inform them and help them in developing their projects. But in the meantime, what can we do for the others who are not Flemish is, as you know, most European projects, you need partners. Well, we are available for you if you want to develop a project. And if you don't want to develop with Karel, because then you're here, you're very well, so that's then your project team is funded. But if you need partners for another project where Karel can't help you, we are available for you to look for good partnering partners. So I think ESPD does the same job in disability we cooperate. So I think it's very important to offer this as contribution. But given this, as I said before, European projects will not be the solution for this problem. It can be a solution to develop and to set up experimentations, but I think for assistive technology we need a long-term strategy that can be, well, that can be sustainable, where the management of the service providers as an instrument to define their services. And then, what are the conditions for this kind of funding? I think it's easy to say that it should be user-driven, of course. It should be empower the user towards the service provider to make a dialogue. Quality, of course, is an important driver. Of course, we should exclude risk of abuse. We all know these days. So it's clear that these are three factors that should drive the financing. But in my opinion, very soon the driver will be different. And the driver will be waiting lists and reducing budgets. So it will not be about quality mainly, or about more services like we do it now. It will be about how can we do it reduced, or let's say at least the same budget, help more people. And, so it will be about efficiency, and it will be about effectivity. And in my opinion, that requires that the service providers at this time who are organizing the services have to find this efficiency as well by giving them another task, and that's what Jean-Marie said. At this time, in Flanders, and I'm afraid in many European regions, service providers are delivering services and not solutions. Why? Because they're not allowed to, according to their legislation, to deliver other solutions than the ones they are, the ones they get money for. So if you have a residential care institution, well, then you're not allowed to organize other services. So I think authorities have to give another task to service providers, to the management, to make a change from service delivery to solutions delivery, which could impact on the way they work. And then they should have the possibility to make choices. How many beds, how many residential care do we have to have available in our region to take care of people who need it? But how many persons can we take out of institutions, and how can assistive technology help us in managing all this intramuros, extramuros? So the conditions for funding systems in the future will be, in my opinion, more globalized budgets, less rules, less details, not less control from the authority. So I'm not talking about stepping back from the authority side, not at all, but the follow-up should be in another way than controlling whether all the invoices are correct and so on. So it would be more on output, I suppose, than on throughput. So Jean-Marie, that's my, well, I don't have more solution than this, but I think this shift has to be made. And it's not a way of vision and that would be my opinion, that you have to really need, because the pressure from people who need services will only go up and budgets won't follow. So the need for a change will be there, and perhaps we should see this as, or I hope that we can make this as kind of an opportunity to organize less residential and so on services and more open and integrated way of delivering care.
Thank you very much. I think you have comments to give on our three members of the panel. I can only invite you to do that. Comments, please. I see Dave. I see you have a comment or question.
Or both.
Or both. No, are there
Okay, I was
questions?
going to say, how do you see the move? We're talking about assistive technologies. How do you see the move, the user move? So when we're working in schools, such as the Oakfield School, there is a high abandon rate of assistive technology and a huge uptake of mainstream technology, which, without being universal design, is more user-sensitive, inclusive design. So we're just adapting mainstream devices to also be included and useful for people with a range of disabilities. I see that as a major movement. Do you see that as something which is relevant in the future?
I think that will be one of the tasks of competence centers, if it's not yet. In Flanders it certainly is not. But what we do now as a reference center or information center is, let's say, follow the market of the assistive technology. But the solutions in the mainstream market are not observed. And the people will have to take time and use time, and we need specialists to observe the involvement, the evolutions in technology, and to look for solutions in the mainstream market, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think the solution's already there.
They are there. Yeah.
So people are having lots of arguments between universal design and user-sensitive inclusive design. So there's a group in Canada who would design everything as universally accessible and universal design. And there's a whole other pragmatic approach coming from developing countries who say, that's not really possible for us. We differentiate our products, but if you just adapt and extend the usage of mainstream devices, the kind of devices young people, and I'm talking about young people, choose to use for themselves, they're going to be much more acceptable. Because there's two things: you can have a really effective device, or whether young people want to use it and will abandon it really quickly are two different things.
Yeah.
So there's this whole kind of groundswell of a movement of young people to choose their own devices.
Do you have something to add? You first? Yeah. Both welcome.
Well, yeah, I basically agree with you that is a major development, and fortunately, I would say. I think, most people, unless you have a lot of commercial interest in this sector, is probably that assistive technology no longer won't be necessary anymore, because we have fully accessible devices that can cater for the needs of anyone in any condition. And so far that, to a certain extent, is happening, although new technological developments may also create new barriers or unexpected barriers, for example. No-touch paradigm, for example. I would basically agree with you, but I also agree that there will always be probably a percentage of people that needs specially designed solutions, and I agree that talking about solutions nowadays is much more appropriate than talking about technologies or devices or probably technology-based assistive solutions could be an interesting alternative to add to our vocabulary. which is probably a mixture between mainstream, specially designed, personalized, and why not also personal care. I got a little bit lost in the discussion before because I think we should not mix too much the role of technology in care and the possibilities of saving money by introducing technology in care from what is, I would say, the rights of people with disabilities to have access to enabling technology. It's not necessarily linked, and the interests are not necessarily the same, so it has to be distinguished also very good what we are talking about. I think it's the right of persons with disabilities to have access to enabling technology, so to create equal opportunity through the technology, and it is a little bit hard to question that also while budgets are reducing, and the other thing is, and the impact of that is also on much longer term. It's not that you find a solution now and okay, I saved 10 hours of care in a week, so this is my savings and so on. Starting early with technology will create more active and more participative citizens in the long term. So it is as a matter of fact very complex as an issue, and I don't know how to conclude this phrase, but anyway, I think these are my thoughts now.
It's also network technologies as well, kind of like the internet of things, where internet technology, assistive technology is network with other assistive technology by machine-to-machine communication as well. So assistive technologies working in collaboratively together, constructively together over networks as well.
Okay.
I think there's an additional problem. A couple of people talked about abandonment as an issue. I think we often have an unrealistic expectation of the life cycle of assistive technology. If you sit there, how many mobile phones have I abandoned in the last 5 years?
And that's the
It's about 6.
Use it,
But I'm very critical of somebody who has stopped using their AT after 3 years. And I think we really need to understand this very short, actually, assistive technology life cycle is becoming shorter and shorter as the platforms are constantly upgraded and changed as well. And I think it's another challenge that we're going to have to face.
Yeah. The federal researcher said we must normalise the abandonment of Greg van der Heijden. Was very convincing when he said, you have to normalise the abandonment of assistive technology with other technology. But I think the difference is with popular devices which have been designed in a sensitive way to also include the needs of people with disabilities. They're cheaper and there's personal choice, whereas the abandonment of more expensive assistive technology, which is more like a medical intervention, is a different thing, because of the huge sums of money involved.
It's interesting because we give away, we work with a lot of braille note takers, and actually the pressure from the blind community to be given the latest braille note taker has got a little extra functionality 7 months after they had it. It's just as great as I need the iPhone 5S, not the iPhone 5.
Yeah.
Small amounts of functionality create demand. And I think this is again, we're talking there, some said earlier, 8,000 to 9,000 euros a time, but the pressure is still there to maintain.
I think this debate to me shows the importance of what the young Kelder said, the importance of the social engineer, so the one who can bridge the gap between the end user and the producer, so the one who can help in translate what is the life cycle of a product, what is the added value of a new version, and so on. So I think it's important to have this kind of folk, this kind of expertise who is able to make the translation. And if I may, a second thing is that we may not forget that at this time they are also developing new devices, new technology that we even are not able to imagine what it could do. So again, it highlights the importance of long-term strategy and not only of a new project for a new idea at least.
Okay, there is a question over there. No?
No, I have a question.
Yes, please.
Okay, I didn't see that. Okay, I'm Assistive VLEVA from Aalborg, and thank you for an interesting wrap-up. And as there are no female academics in the panel. I will be a little bit provocative now, and if you don't mind, Jackie, I address my question to you.
Okay.
Because I would like to have your opinion on or vision on how user-centered design really can have possibilities to bridge this gap that we are talking about. Maybe using how you have experienced working with user-centered design in the projects you have been involved in, and how that can contribute to a more user-driven development of devices or assistive technology. So what is your vision towards the future from this point of view?
My vision is to increase and move things forward from not just being user-centered but being completely user-designed and user-developed. And bit by bit, when we do write our training curricula, we're adding more and more units to move the skill set that way, because that also adds to value for money, really, because the more you do that, the more you're targeting it to real world need, rather than us having perceived what that particular need is, because it's coming from direct experience. So you're getting a much closer match, and that's got to therefore be a driver for better value, more bang for your buck, if you like, as well. So that is my vision, to move things forward as far as you can. Of course, that's difficult when you're talking about learning disability or cognitive impairment, because they don't have the knowledge to back that up. But with other groups of disability and other youth, other socially excluded groups, there is the ability to move things forward that way. So that argument still has to be had of how you do that when you're talking about a severe cognitive impairment or learning disability or a profound multiple disability.
Yeah, okay.
Man again.
Amanda, do you want to ask a question to Amanda?
Well, Jackie mentioned the severe side of the spectrum, and I have to paint a picture for you. My research is with the most marginalised, and adapting that all the way up to traditionally developed, where I create interactive installations in museums and other parts, to observe people in spaces and how they experience those spaces. So what I've written here is learning versus the learning from the experience of the learning. I think that what I worry about was that a statement was made that, okay, the highlights from this is the serious games and the robotics. So let's go ahead 10 years. And we have a little analogy backwards as well. We go forward 10 years. And for me that feels a little bit formal, because they're structured. But let's go back to school and the 50s. And we have physical education. And you could perhaps say, what was the value of that? Yes, we practically exercise and fit. But what was embedded within that? The interactions, all that's embedded in that. So I'm looking forward again now. And I work with art, and I work with empowerment through sensitive technologies for everybody. And I see so much in what happens. And then you have to be able to see that representation of the learning of what's happening in those spaces you create. And then have models of how to increment those experiences to, if we call it learning for that person, to have a better quality of life, to have something to improve themselves. Huh? So I have many comments, and I'm not going to go through them all, but Darish talked about, we talk about empowerment here. Paul Darish talked about embodied interaction. I think there's a relationship there. And to look towards how you create an interaction that gives an experience, that can give learning, and to give benefit and the quality to that person, which is important. Maybe if they're not, I don't mean the management, but some of the hierarchy who don't want to work with that group of people, because it is a hell of a challenge to work with that group of people. But wow, where are you going to start segmenting the disabilities? Where are you going to start saying, no, we're not going to address those guys? Wow.
So you're talking about experiential medical interaction.
Yes. And from my research, it's wonderful. You allow someone to paint through a gesture. We used to do head-controlled robotic lights at the end of the 90s. And it isn't formalized that
person who's 3.5, 4 years of age makes a decision, they can't move anything in their body, but they make a decision where they position their head to have a causality. And if you work with some neural aspects of this, that's all coming into this. We're looking at what's going on with the mind, what's going on with the brain, what's going on with these aspects. And we mustn't ignore that free expression, the abstract. What is involved? That's my analogy back to the PE, if you like. Don't forget that. If I can make a comment and a message, yes, here's games. And you use messing about, which is a wonderful slide for me. There's a lot to be learned in messing about. You know, you start with kids, you're wrecking around, throwing things. You learn through, we talk about risks earlier on.
But who think the interfaces to technology is a massive move towards natural user, multimodal natural user interfaces? So
The timing is right. The timing is right. And that's what was interesting when I saw the Greek gentleman, his presentation. That's the first time I saw all of these different interfaces coming up. The eye tracking glasses, where you can get that information. You saw information, you get that data, what do we map it to? That makes it meaningful for that person. But what is that? We have to define the meaning of that meaning then. And if it's to do with learning, okay, let's take on that challenge. As, you know, if you're getting that secret.
Can we conclude with this, let's say, the art of using assistive technology seems to me a very interesting point of view, for me very new, but see it in a totally different way, the way, not thinking the way of art used in the use of technology. Is it something we can take home and before have a drink on it?
Well, this has been around a long time. It's just new, but now what Dave said as well, we've been working with gesture centers for a long time, but now it's affordable and available. The 3 A's you have the connect, you have the, and because of games, they're there. But grab that now and look at what the person's ability to input to that. And what feedback do you give to make it meaningful for that person?
You're talking about not using a medical model of social model, while you're looking at user capabilities as well as user limitations. So it starts with a medical model which recognises people have some limitations, but we also have to look at what user capabilities are, model those, so we did a matrix, and then use an ontology to map onto the open modalities we have. So all interaction technology, assistive technologies, based on your user ability, not defined by your disability, which might be socially transmissible.
The really important figure in that is the facilitator, to be able to take the technology and to implement it through different parameters that are given by the designer. So you have a team of people who understands that environment to make it. So yes, it is user driven, but there's more involved because the technology that's mediating an experience. So you've got some intersubjective experiences and an intersubjective result. That's the learning. It's the intersubjective side of things.
Okay, I will conclude thanking Jan, Luc and Jos for being with me in the wrap-up session. I don't know whether Carl has the last word to say, and anyway it was very interesting in my opinion, but we have deserved some class.
I would like to thank, first of all, the people that you do not see, but that have helped a lot to organize all this. So I would like to Secondly, I would like to thank my Flemish friends for their very nice contribution on the table, including our Dutch friend. And I would like to thank all
Flemish now. We make it Flemish.
Yes. And I would like to thank all of you because it has been a long day for all of you. So we have a small present for you as well. The dinner is served. So please enjoy it. And for practical reasons, we need to more or less move out around 6 o'clock, a little bit, not a lot later. So enjoy it, but at a certain point we'll say goodbye and see you again. So thank you again.
En hoe lang? Ik was sinds daar 4 weken. Dus je gaat gewoon in 10 voor 2 was ik al op plek verdiend.
Yeah, David said